Welcome to the Conscious Conception Show with me, Sue Ritchie. This show will take you from confusion to clarity, confidence and emotional healing to a joyful pregnancy. This is the place where we uncover the real truth about fertility and why preparing for conception, mind, body and soul, is more important than ever. With honest, empowering conversations, we'll explore the hidden factors impacting fertility and how a holistic approach can help you take back control of your journey. Whether you're trying naturally, navigating IVF, or just starting out, know this: you're not alone, you're not broken, and you're already on your way. So let's walk this path together. So welcome to the Conscious Conception Show today. I'm Sue Ritchie, holistic health and fertility specialist. And it's so wonderful to have you to join me today. And also I have a special guest as well on the show, which is really great. And, I'm delighted because Libby Stiggles-Ginn is joining me today. She is the Emoji Coach. And we're going to be exploring a really important topic. It's powerful, but it's just so often overlooked, as an aspect of preparing for conception and, for parenthood as well. And that is healing our own childhood wounds. And I'm sure you'll agree that, parenting is one of those most challenging and really the most important role we play. And especially when, together, when we're caring for our children, we're navigating unhealed experiences from our own past. Those unresolved patterns can show up as, triggers, emotional reactions, inner criticism even, and also behaviours that really don't always align with, the kind of parent that we really long to be. And some of the areas we're going to cover, I suppose, today really are how childhood conditioning really influences the way we parent, and why emotional regulation and self-love are really foundational for parenting skills. And, really looking into how healing our own childhood wounds, before baby is, one of the greatest gifts that we can actually give to our future child. So hi, Libby.
Hello, hello.
And thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to be here.
It's a real delight to have you on the show. And so Libby is an emoji coach, which I think is a fabulous title. And she's passionate about empowering parents to raise confident, resilient, and happy kids. And, that's something that really resonates with me too. It's something that I really believe is important. So maybe today you could just start off actually by actually just, share a little about your work, how did you become the emoji coach and what really sort of drew you into supporting, parents and children, in the emotional area.
Well, I I think really that, like you say, I've always been very passionate about working with children. When I was younger, it was the career choice was, do I become a hairdresser or do I work with children? And I actually chose hairdressing. But then things happened in my life to bring me back into working with children. And I started off where I started running programs for children. And I found that parents were going, here's my child, can you please fix them? And we'll just be here in the background. And I realized that I actually wanted to work with the parents as well as the child, or sometimes I work with the parents and not the child. And my work was very much predominantly around emotions. It's always been something that's so important to me to help people express how they feel, because when I was younger, I couldn't. And so I ended up having depression for so many months where doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. And there was all that hoo-ha of what's wrong with this child? Why is she always poorly? Why this? Why that? And so it doesn't surprise me that I have come round full circle into this career. And it was actually my web designer at the time. We were coming up with a name, and he was like, "What about emoji coaching?" And I was like, "Oh no, I don't think so." And I kind of slept on it. And he said, "But you're all about emotions, Libby. And emojis are such a big thing, and they will be for a long time." And I just thought, okay, so I am the emoji coach then. And it kind of stemmed from there, and I created resources. I created my own emojis, and really helped children to express how they were feeling without having to find the words. But then I found that parents were struggling with that as well. And so the emoji coach evolved into working with the parents and really helping parents to look at their triggers and their emotions and helping them to express how they feel, because being a parent is one of the hardest jobs, but yet rewarding jobs at the same time. And it's full of triggers. The journey of parenting is just full of triggers. So it's really helping parents and seeing that when parents heal their triggers and are able to express themselves, their children are able to do that as well. And it's all come in together beautifully. And that's basically what the Emoji Coach is about.
Wow, that's really, really interesting. I love the story of your own childhood as well in that,
Yeah.
because you know, we learn a lot, I think, from our own experiences in childhood too. And I think, the thing is, many people don't realize just how much their own childhood experiences shape their parenting. And I know
Mm.
that I certainly didn't. And, and when I had first had my children, but I've learnt a lot since then, now that they've grown up, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Though I know I do remember that, when became first pregnant with my first child, I did make some, a couple of conscious decisions that there were sort of two things around, parenting that I'd received, if you like, from my parents that really didn't serve me at all. And, I wasn't going to repeat those.
Yeah.
But equally, there are subconscious things that we pass on that we're not aware of.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I suppose what my question to you is, Libby, is really sort of, how do those early patterns typically show up in day-to-day parenting?
I think for me, when I work with parents, the signs are there when parents say to me, "Oh, I just know how they feel." If their child goes through a certain experience, I know how they feel. And I always say, you don't, you know how you felt when you went through something that was similar. But I think going back right from the word go, when you have your baby, it's you just want everything to be right. You just want everything to be perfect. And you really and truly, we want to be perfect parents, don't we? And it's,
Absolutely.
and I think that in itself can come from a past event, because I was like you, there were so many things that I wanted to change it with, like the generational line of, I don't want to be like that. I really would like to be like this. So those signs come from a very, even before the baby is born. But as the baby grows, becomes a toddler and starts to go out into the world, without even realizing it, those triggers and those patterns can come. I remember once when loads of lights were left on in the house, and it was just simple as, "Oh, it's like Blackpool illuminations in this house." And it's something that my dad always used to say to me. We pick up those things, we pick up traits, and they can be beautiful and wonderful traits, but it's when it's being aware of where are our reactions coming from here? And are we wanting to fix our child's emotions rather than being comfortable enough to allow them to explore their emotions and, help them to understand that it's okay to feel how they're feeling. So yeah, that there's lots of little signs.
So why can parents, why can parenting feel so triggering? Even, when so many parents do, they really deeply love their children and they really, they want to do, I think, everybody's really looking to do better.
Yeah, I think that I always say that our children are mirrors, our little mirrors, and quite often they are mirroring something. They are so sensitive to energy. And when I talk about energy, I'm talking about feelings. I could walk into my kitchen when my kids were younger, probably still now, and have a smile on my face, but internally be having a really bad day. My kids would pick up on it.
Mm.
And I noticed it, through all the work that I've done around myself. I could see that, okay, they're picking up on this. It's like if you want to go into a restaurant and you really want, or the supermarket, and you're thinking, oh, I hope they behave themselves. Oh my God, what if they don't behave themselves? I really want them to behave themselves. And guess what? They don't, because they're picking up on that tension that you are feeling internally. So it's so easy for us the parents to get triggered, but it's having that awareness, and then it's what you do with that that can help you and your family move forward healthily.
So we're sort of talking about, obviously very much focusing on emotions and emotional awareness, and I suppose also with that is emotional regulation as well. So if we look at, how does all of that, if you like, in the parent influence a child's, development of a sense of safety and self-worth?
I think that for a parent, it's all about self-regulation. There's so much out there, and parents talk about teaching their children to self-regulate and teaching their children not to have meltdowns and feel anxiety and this, that, and the other. We are role models, so it's very much about the parents to be able to self-regulate themselves and know not to. I always say that if something comes up for us as a trigger, a parent as a trigger, if parents don't work through that, it's amazing because you can hold the child in that energy so the child can't move on. So it's holding that space for your child to express their emotions, and know that it's okay to do that and just hold that space. And by doing that, the child then becomes confident with doing that, knows that there's nothing bad or there's nothing wrong in doing that. And they then become where they feel safe with their emotions. Whereas if we go in and we try and fix it and we try and do things to make it better, then the message we're giving is, well, it's wrong and it's not good for you to feel that. So it's being really aware and really careful of how you cope and manage those situations.
Yeah, I think that's very, very good advice, I have to say. I think it's quite key. So one of the things I think that, we all struggle with is that negative inner voice, that inner judge that we all have, unfortunately. And I sort of wonder was to ask you whether, what role do you think that has, and what does it play, if you like, in parenting? And, what can parents do, if you like, to really sort of, I suppose, manage and soften that voice?
So we all have that ego brain. All of us, whether we're a parent or not, we have that. And our ego brain really likes to try and dampen things and situations. And again, I mean, this is a very, believe it or not, a very, very deep, in-depth question that you've asked me, because if you look at it as if there is a parent that there's a lot of trauma from their past, and maybe, their childhood wasn't that great and they're carrying that with them. If they then do something wrong or didn't handle a situation that they felt was in the right way, and when I say do something wrong, that's not me saying they're doing something wrong, it's them saying they're doing something wrong, then what that brings up for them is guilt and shame, and they start to beat themselves up. They have that negative, like, I shouldn't have done that. I didn't handle that well. I could have handled that better. And, there are so many situations as parents where, yeah, we could handle situations better, but it's a learning and it's letting that go, and I always say we weren't kids don't come with a handbook. All right, there are a lot of books out there, but that again, that's different perceptions. When I work with parents, I always say, you have your innate wisdom of parenting. You know what to do in the situation, but it's society gets in the way. And there's so many like social media posts now on what to do and what not to do, but our own stuff gets in the way. And that's the biggest thing. That's where the mind chatter comes. And we feel, judged by other parents. And do you know what? You probably are being judged by other parents, but you're also judging yourself. And so it's about giving yourself a break, because a lot of parents will talk to me about, "Oh, I just want my child to have more confidence and more self-esteem." And I will just say, okay, so where's your confidence and your self-esteem about being a parent? So again, it comes back to the parent believing themselves and going, "Do you know what? I've had a bad day today and I could have handled that better. I could have maybe done that differently. Next time I will. We'll start afresh tomorrow."
Yeah, no, I think the thing is, it's like I think it's becoming aware of that negative voice and that judge.
Yeah,
And I think, so often, we can get into this thing of actually beating ourselves up.
yeah,
But I think if you have the awareness, it's then actually about being kind to yourself
yeah,
and, letting yourself off the hook because, you've been in a situation in the day, you've had a horrible day at work or whatever.
yeah,
But also, I think you've then got an opportunity with that awareness to, if you said something to the child that you regret saying, that you can actually go back and, explain to them why you were like that and what's happened
yeah,
and apologize. And
yeah.
the child then actually learns something from that experience
A
just as well
hundred
as you
percent.
have.
Yeah, 100%. And my son, he's 23 years old, and I was right in the middle of something the other evening that I needed to deal with the situation. And he came in to apologize for getting the dog excited and what have you. And I said, one moment. And the following day he said to me, "I don't know whether you realize, but I actually came in to apologize because of X, Y, and Z." And I turned to him and I said, "Do you know what? I'm really sorry. I was bang in the middle of doing something really crucial." And I said, "But I'm sorry I didn't hear that." And and he's 23 now. So it's good for kids to see that we make mistakes. And
Yeah.
it's important for them to see that we make mistakes. And we do make mistakes. Yes, we're parents, but we're also human as well. So we're going to make parenting isn't about perfection. It's connection.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And I think we can get too hung up on perfection, but also, it's children learn from real life and, and like everything, it's okay to make mistakes because when we make mistakes, we also learn and children should be allowed to be able to make mistakes too.
Yeah. 100%. Yes.
So, I suppose, generally speaking, I suppose, we learn a lot of our own parenting skills from our own parents, and they've learnt them from our grandparents, if you like, and that can go back possibly, several generations when certain skills, if you let, and attitudes and behaviors sort of get passed on because we learn, from each other and generation from generation. The unfortunate thing, though, is that they're not always beneficial, are they?
No.
So, would you agree that, sometimes these patterns can also be subconscious?
Yes, absolutely.
So, what I'd like to ask you now really is, what does it really mean to sort of break that generational cycle of these patterns and behaviors? And I suppose, is it realistic to expect, parents and ourselves to do this perfectly?
It's not realistic to expect to do this perfectly. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes as a parent, because, like we said, this is a journey and it's a learning. Those generational patterns that come down, it's for me, I think the crucial bit is being aware of it and then having the tools to be able to handle those and let them go. There's so much intertwined with this, so because letting things go from our parents, that have been passed down, that can be quite deep and can need some healing to do so. But it's just very much about awareness, being aware of the patterns and then making sure that they are not being passed down to the children. And the way to do that is through your healing journey. And it doesn't have to be, a really deep, but it depends what there is that's in there that's being passed down the line to you, that you may be holding something from your parents without even realizing, a
Mm.
pattern. It could be a money pattern, it could be a career pattern, it could be something to do with children. It's there's so much that we hold that we kind of go, yep, I'll take that from you because I love you and I want you to love me. Subconsciously we're talking here, Sue. And it can be deep subconscious that's going on for you. So yeah, it's very easy to have these patterns, but there are ways that you can release that and go on a healing journey. And I feel it's really important. I've been on one. I've been on my own. This is why I do the work that I do. And to this day, I'm still learning, going, oh, there's another one. But it's when you've got the awareness and you've got the toolkit, you can then release them and let them go.
Yeah, I think it's the awareness, isn't it? And noticing and recognizing things that was where the sort of power, if you like, lies.
Yeah.
Because once we're aware of something and we're noticing something, then we can actually do something about it in a
Yes.
conscious way.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
again, I think again is not to be too obsessed with being perfect either,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I think that can get in the way. So we often talk about preparing physically for pregnancy, making sure that, we're eating healthy, getting good sleep, regular exercise, and all those sorts of things. But we don't often, really consider preparing emotionally. So why do you feel that emotional preparation is so important for parenthood?
I think emotional preparation is important for anything that we do, as well as parenthood. And I think that I always remember a client who, when she had a baby, after a few months, in fact, it was longer than a few months, she went, I get it now. It's all about the emotions. And so I think that parenting kind of blows you away, this emotion that you feel when you have your baby and this, wanting to get everything right. But I think it is really important to be able to connect to your emotions as well and to be able to express those emotions. So preparing yourself emotionally is important for that reason, because you're then meeting your child's needs, because your child really needs that emotional connection, as well as all the management, all the physical things that come with childhood. The emotional aspect of it and understanding that is important.
That's great. Well, sadly, we're coming to the end of the show.
Oh no.
Time goes so quickly. So really, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh,
It's
you're
been
very
really
welcome.
such an interesting, I think, enlightening conversation, and I hope those of you listening have found it very useful as well. I guess we've covered quite a lot, so perhaps if there's one thing from our conversation that someone listening could take away, what would what would you hope that that is? What's the thing that one thing they could take away from what you've talked about today?
I think, oh gosh, one. For me, it's about connection, not perfection. Yeah,
I love that. I love that.
yeah.
That's a really good one. So can you share how people can, connect with you, find out more about what you do?
Yes, so my website is theemojicoach.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And again, that will be under the Emoji Coach. And there's lots of information on there. There's free resources on my website also, and that will have my email address and contact number on there as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So yeah, thank you once again for joining me on the show, Libby. And I thank everybody else who's joined us on the show today. And I hope you found it really useful. And if this episode has resonated with you and you know of someone who you think needs to hear what's been shared today, please do share it with them. And, if you're ready to take a more conscious, holistic approach to your fertility journey, then I would love to walk that path with you. And, we're not just talking about conception, we're talking about creating healthy, happy couples who are supported, informed, and empowered to become healthy, happy parents. To me, that is really the heart of it all. Creating healthy, happy couples who make healthy, happy babies. And I hope you'll all join me again on next month's show. But in the meantime, do stay curious, stay hopeful, and please, at the end of the day, be really kind to yourself and to take really good care of yourself. Thank you for listening to the Conscious Conception Show with me, Sue Ritchie. To stay informed and inspired, be sure to tune in every third Tuesday of the month at 7:30 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Subscribe so you never miss an episode and sign up for my newsletter for helpful tips on boosting fertility and preparing for positive, empowered parenthood. If you're ready for more support, connect with me on social media on Instagram and LinkedIn and at Optimum Fertility, or visit my website at sue-ritchie.com.